Hello, beautiful alchemist. Welcome to Reiki Radio. I am your host, Yolanda. Happy Friday. We are moving into our final hour with Eboni Banks, founder of Body Way Intuition. And this is part three of the conversation where now she's given us a little curveball. We're going into the topic of expanding sensuality and what that has to do with our intuitive recognition. So before we jump in, I just want to remind you if you want to attend her monthly free online workshops, be sure to follow Eboni on Instagram at Bodyway Intuition. If you want to learn more about her entire body of work, go to her website, bodywayintuition.com. You can also follow her on Substack under Licking Life's Fingers. So there's plenty of ways to connect with Eboni, and you can pre-order her upcoming book. The link is down in the show description, and the book is called Your Intuitive Nudge, a step-by-step guide to connecting with your intuition. So here in part three, again, she's going to talk to us about expanding sensuality. And she even says, I want you to prove to you how magnificent you are. So see in what context how that comes up. And she also highlights how we're so much more than we know. A lot of good juiciness also here in part three of our conversation. I hope you enjoy it. And don't forget, if you do or you have any questions or anything you want to share, reach out to Eboni and let her know. If there's anything that you want to share with me, feel free to email me as well. Go to my website, theenergeticalchemist.com. And don't forget, if you want to join me for the Ultimate Healing Guide, my upcoming online class in April, be sure to register right away so you can get that early bird discount. Use coupon code EARLYBIRD in the checkout before March 15th so you can get $50 off enrollment. All right. So the links for all of that are down in the show description. I look forward to connecting with you all, working with you all. I'm very excited for you to hear part three with Eboni. And I want to remind you, keep tuning in because we have more teachers coming to share all of these juicy nuggets and wisdom with us. So be sure to follow the podcast wherever you are listening now. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, you can really help us grow by giving a 5-star rating. If you are watching on YouTube, please follow the page, follow the YouTube channel, and subscribe. All right, that's all for now. I hope you enjoy part three, and I will see you on the other side. Okay, everyone, welcome back to part three with the incredible Eboni Banks. I have to say, Eboni, it has been so fun deep diving into intuition with you. And again, thank you for staying with us for this third hour.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, the time is going by so fast. I can't believe it's already been over 2 hours.
I know. It's unbelievable. But you've been giving us so much juicy information. So I just want everyone to know if you missed the previous episodes, on Monday, she shared with us the foundation information about intuition and her journey through intuition and awakening. And then, and in the last episode, we talked a lot about the body as a tool and we went through the clairs, very informative. And now today, we get to learn from Eboni about expanding sensuality and the chakras in relationship to intuition. So, do you have a preference of where we start? Chakras
Mm.
or
No,
sensuality?
wherever,
No?
wherever you want to go.
I want to go with this expanding sensuality because I was like, what is this
Okay.
about? Yes, please.
Okay. Oh, so when I was thinking about Bodyway Intuition, my business name, and like how to share, how to house all the things that I want to share with everyone,
Yeah.
um, I started thinking about like just really plainly because I experienced so much intuition through the senses, and it's really about
Mm,
expanding our sensuality. And we typically think about sensuality in the context of sex, you know? However, sensuality is so much, I mean, it's definitely a part of sex, and
yeah.
this sensuality even connects to sex, right?
Right.
But sensuality through the senses. through the
Yeah.
five senses and through the clear senses is kind of the kind of sensuality that I'm referring to, really,
Yeah.
which is really about being more present,
Yes.
really about being more present with how we allow ourselves to experience our five senses, even if you're eating a raspberry, right?
Yeah.
Like allowing yourself to like really feel that raspberry on your tongue. And with
Yeah.
that, instead of like just putting them all, 20 of them in your mouth or whatever it is, right? Like really experiencing the raspberry,
Right.
and allowing your tongue to like really enjoy all the little seeds, the
Yeah.
hairs. So it's really about like being that aware with ourselves instead of rushing to do all the things we touch, taste, hear, smell, and see,
Yes.
like really doing them with intention and slowing down and being present while you do them, because all of that will support you in expanding your intuition.
I have to say, okay, so this goes to with everything you've been sharing so far, it sounds like, and I just want to point this out in case no one's making this correlation, and maybe I'm wrong, but it
Mhm.
sounds like you are pointing us towards the more we're even in relationship with our physical sensory, the more that brings us into awareness of the non-physical.
Yes,
Yeah. So,
absolutely. Oh, I hate that I say that word so much, but yes, that is exactly the point I was trying to make
yeah.
on the last call, because the clear senses are accessed through the physical senses. Like the
Hmm.
physical and non-physical are always in relationship to each other, just like the mind and the body are always in relationship to each other, just
Yeah.
like as above, so below, just like as within, so
Right.
without. It's all the same. It's an extension of that idea that these things are always in relationship to each other. And it's our job to recognize how we are in relationship to those things, you know?
Yes. And it sounds like with what you just said too, I love this, Ebony, so much. It
Mhm.
sounds like you're saying even to tune into all of the sensory, no matter which one you're focused on. So, like,
Mhm.
even when you gave the example of the raspberry, it
Mhm.
was coming to mind that if we were silent enough and present enough, we would almost hear that inner, like, little crunch of the berry on top of feeling the texture, on top of the juice and the taste and we would probably still be able
The
to the
smell.
smell, all
Mhm.
of them. So even though we may think we're going into the portal of taste,
Mhm.
it's really all of our sensory taking it in.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And just by expanding our experience with our through our physical expressions of the senses,
Hmm.
we are naturally expanding our experience of our non-physical expression of the senses, because when we're more present, we're getting more information that will then later inform us in another way that we don't know about yet,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it hasn't shown up it hasn't presented itself yet. But the more we can give ourselves experiences and information about how we experience the five physical senses,
Hmm.
the more it's going to support us and how we are abstractly connecting the dots and like accessing our intuitive clairsenses.
Yes. Oh,
They go
this,
hand in hand. They go
yes.
hand in hand.
But
Yeah.
you make it sound like not just a sound. I think you're highlighting for us how much more delicious life can
Yes.
be in relationship to our intuitive awareness. Because again, like we don't have to just only isolate it into predictive or guidance, which we can.
Mhm.
We can
That's what you
even
want.
become
Yeah.
more aware of that.
Mhm.
But bigger picture, this connection to ourselves, this awareness of ourselves is going to give us just a different texture of life overall.
Overall,
Yeah.
overall. And that's how, I mean, there's so many ways that intuition shifts perception,
Hmm.
you know? And it's in big and small ways. It can be from how you experience the raspberry,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
To how your experience of the raspberry is showing up intuitively in another area of your experience,
Yeah.
you know? So it's all leading us to just really embody more of the truth of who we are, and and it's pleasurable, to enjoy life more by giving more detail and focusing more the on the senses, on the things that we are. doing all day, every day that we don't even think twice about. You know,
Yeah.
we're not capable of counting how many times we hear. We just hear. We just hear, you
Yeah.
know?
This is I mean, you make my mind go in 10,000 different directions. I know I
Love
said
that.
I would love for you to come back for us to talk about creativity because that's a
Mhm.
huge topic and I can't wait to have you come back for that. But even as you're saying this, it's reminding me of people who have an interest in like plants and herbs and all of these like natural remedies, these kinds of things,
Mhm.
and how they have to go into relationship with the plants. They have to go into relationship with the herbs. And then some of them will go so deep into relationship that they will intuit the pairings, the like union, the marriage of these different plants and herbs to concoct another form of remedy or healing or clarity or whatever it is for us. But just, I think it's just coming to mind, Ebony, all the ways our intuition can serve us. A
Yes.
lot of times we just may not consider.
We don't consider and these ways that we're talking about now, aren't even the ways that it can show up in everyday life.
Right, right.
When you're brushing your teeth, when you're
Yeah,
in the shower, when you're putting on your shoes and socks, like
yeah,
it can show up anytime, anytime. It doesn't have
yeah,
to be isolated to, you know, anything. If
yeah,
it's a hobby or an interest or your spiritual life, it is a part of your everyday, mundane,
yeah,
life.
yeah. Oh, so good. So I have to ask you about this before we get into the chakras.
Mhm.
It just dawned on me. I never even asked you about a description of this upcoming book. So could
Oh,
you give us a little bit
yeah.
about the book, why you've put this together for us? But
Yes.
yeah, give us a little background of the book and who it's for.
Oh, thank you so much for this. So the book was so unexpected because it's actually the second book I wrote, and
Mm,
oddly enough, it's being published first,
yes.
right? And it's a little bit of a story behind the book because I know nothing about publishing or anything. I just like started writing.
Yeah.
And when I was ready to find an agent, the agent that I connected with, she represents self-help. She was referred to me by a friend.
Mhm.
And she doesn't represent memoir, which is what my first book is.
Uh,
And agents are all about genre, you
right.
know? So she asked me to write a self-help book.
Mm,
I didn't even think this would, if it weren't for her, this book wouldn't even exist, you
uh,
know? And because she's like, what do you think about writing a book about intuition? Do you think, is that something you'd be interested in? And I was like, I never thought about it, but yeah, I'll take a stab at it.
yeah.
So I came up with like this kind of workbook essentially is what it was. Um, with like space for people to like write in. It's now transformed. It's not a workbook anymore. It's a book that you read,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But it has activities and things for people to do in it. And the book, it's just, I really think it wrote itself because I swear I channeled it. It wrote itself very quickly.
Yeah.
Even the editing of it was very quick. And it really is for everyone.
Mm,
There is definitely some beginner level intuition stuff for people who don't know what it is. I clearly explain that. And then
yeah.
there's also some high level stuff for people who know what it is that will help them understand it even better.
Yes. Yeah.
It's my intention for the book was for it to really become like the definitive book about intuition, and so it
Yeah.
kind of has everything in there. What else can I tell you about the book? So it's organized by steps. And it largely focuses on your relationship with yourself,
Okay. Yeah.
so it's not like woo woo or anything. I mean, I've made it very accessible and practical and, layman's terms as much as I can. Clear
Yes.
tangent is not a layman's term, but it's in there,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
But as much as I can, it's in layman's terms. There are definitely going to be some words that are new for a lot of people. Um, but it's lovely. It's organized by steps and it's orderly, so
Oh, is it Virgo?
I know. I noticed. Right. Yes.
It's organized and it's orderly. I think we could have guessed that one. Yeah. But it's so beautiful because even the story of how the book came to be goes back to what you shared with us in the first episode about having this openness. Having this openness, you have a desire, you have, you know, you thought you were going to share another book initially, but when things took a pivot, you allowed. You
Yes.
allowed and you didn't ignore what was, kind of, I would say, like gifted to you in a way of information of
Mhm.
there's still something else, another way that things can be done. And it doesn't mean that you won't get to the other book, but you left room,
Yeah.
yeah, for
Yeah. And
that
I think it's
co-creation.
important for, just since you mentioned like my astrological sign, it's important for fixed signs to be aware of, like not being fixed when it
Oh,
comes to
thank
their
you, because I am
intuition,
one.
when it comes to
Yes.
intuition, because that point that you made about like me allowing it to be is how so many things show up in my life. Like I
Yeah.
create the desire in my thoughts, and then I kind of just let it go and I just trust it, you know?
I just realized where I might be lucky because I am a fixed sign, but I have a mutable moon. So I'm
I love
Aquarius sun and rising, but I have a Pisces moon.
I don't think I'm not saying anyone is unlucky. I'm just
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
to be
yeah.
more, we all have like our areas where we have to do
Yes.
more or less work. It's
Yeah.
just for being more, and it may not even be in the sun sign, you know? I mean, it could show up in if you're fixed Mars, that could be something to be really mindful of. It will depend,
Yeah.
but just be to be mindful of that because that's such a big part of the trust that we were talking about, and
Yes.
also just allowing all these energies to come to you.
Yeah. I mean, and just even that in a simplified way. I mean, just checking in with ourselves where we are rigid. Are there any ways that you put self, and you have to admit it to yourself, right? But self-imposed restrictions or limitations. Are there
Mm.
any areas where you are so attached to something being a particular way that you're not leaving room for the potential it could happen another way?
Yes, and it kind of makes me sad to hear that too, because I mean, of course, I'm rigid in a lot of ways too, and I've had to learn how not to be, but
Yeah.
I can think of so many, ways that that rigidity keeps us from our happiness,
Right. Yeah.
just
Yeah.
because we're it connects to fear, some sort of lack of something. And so we stay stuck in like these unhappy lives for long periods of time, for years,
Yes.
for years, you know?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
so,
know. I listen, us in the rabbit holes. I
oh,
know that we don't have you all day, so we have to make sure we get this in. But I do want people to know that the link to pre-order the book
yeah.
is down in the show description. And if for some reason you're listening to this beyond 2025, you can just get the book because it will have already been published.
Yes, yes. But I wanted to make that point about
Yeah.
people in unhappy lives because that's a reason why I wrote the book.
Yeah.
Once she presented that idea to me, like, would you be open to this? And I thought about it, and then I started doing it to see like how can I offer in this way and
Mhm.
around that, like what would it look like?
Right.
And once I kind of drafted what it would look like, I thought, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I would be so honored, you
Right.
know?
But see, that's another thing. Well, I'm so glad that you came and we're having these conversations and that you wrote this book because again, I think a lot of us we have a limited view of what intuition is, how it may fit
Yeah.
into our lives and the potential of our relationship to it. So
Yeah.
like you're giving us this much broader scope and I have to, ask you about it again because I don't want to run out of time with you.
No worries.
I know that you do also make some associations, connections to the chakras.
Yep.
And a lot of people are familiar with them. And I would say a lot of people only associate the third eye with intuition. But I have a feeling you're going to tell us that isn't so. So could you so could you talk to us a bit about the chakras and how they do relate to our relationship to intuition?
Yes, so actually that's in the book too. Each
Oh,
step correlates with a chakra.
oh,
That's how I've organized the book too. And I mean, a lot of people also associate intuition with the solar plexus, you
oh,
know? There's that popular third eye and solar plexus connection with intuition. Um,
I
I'm
didn't
not
know
going to
that.
tell you which one is in the book, but it's, but I do connect all of each step to a chakra. And what was your question?
How do the chakras relate
Oh,
to our
how do they?
intuition? Hmm.
Oh, so powerfully, because I mean, this is all energy. Intuition is all about the non-physical world,
Yeah.
right? And so just superficially, the fact that they have that non-physical connection, right? The
Yes.
chakras are these energy centers. And so the chakras help us to understand like what's happening in our emotional, and other bodies. And our intuition is giving us information about the same thing, but from a
Mm,
different like perspective.
right.
It sees it through a different lens and a completely different way of processing it. But can, if you have healthy chakras, they're active, they're open, you're using them,
Yes.
right? Then coupling that information with your intuitive information is going to make this so much easier for you because
Yeah.
you're already energetically aligned with receiving non-physical information.
Yeah.
It's just a very different way,
Yeah.
of receiving it.
So I have to ask you this. This might be a little off. I don't know. But
Yeah.
when it comes to chakras, do you think that people can recognize for themselves, I want to say like the potential imbalance? Like, are some people a particular chakra dominant? Like, say, like, what if you were third eye dominant,
Mm-hmm.
but you had absolutely some kind of disassociation from with body? Like,
Hmm.
would that cause some challenge with
That's such a
intuition?
good question. Oh, I've never thought about it that way before. I definitely know that people have dominant
Yes.
chakras, so you can absolutely be third eye dominant,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Would that disrupt you receiving your intuition through your body? I wouldn't say it would disrupt it, but it definitely is an indication of like how you should lean into your intuition,
Mm, okay.
because I don't I don't think the chakras could disrupt it at all, but they can tell us where we are more gifted and where we need more or less practice.
Okay.
Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
it does.
You know?
Uh-huh.
Because for someone who's third eye chakra dominant, I mean, that person can be receiving a lot of clairvoyance, you know? Yeah, I would probably think about it that way. I've never thought about it like this before, but that's probably how I would think about it,
Yeah.
like connecting that chakra to the intuitive ability, specifically the the clair that most associates with that one.
Ah. So do you have this in the book? So is there, or do you ever play with that in your mind, like an association with the clairs to the chakras?
The way it's talked about in the book is more about for support,
Support of,
more in a supportive capacity and not in relation to the clair senses.
so how the chakras can support our energetic balance, our work with intuition.
How they can support each of the steps.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So this
because
is kind of like a guide. I mean, you do say in the title it's a guide, but
yeah,
this
yeah,
is literally like it's a teaching book.
yeah.
So it's not just learning about intuition, like you're giving us these practical ways of deepening relationship,
Yes.
acknowledging and coming online intuitively, or even refining for
Mhm.
those who already recognize it.
Yes, and I'm sorry I didn't make that clear before. It's
No, you
definitely
maybe you did, and it's just clicking for me.
no, I don't think I did. I think I don't think so. It's definitely a teaching book, and the steps walk you through different parts of your relationship with yourself.
Yes.
And the chakras that correlate with each step are like a way of being supportive to that particular step.
Got you.
That's how it's
Okay.
organized. Yeah. Yeah. So when you're talking about it in relation to the clairs, I hadn't really thought about it that much because the clairs are mentioned in the book. I believe it's just in the intro. And then I just go through because intuition is not just the clair senses.
You're right.
The clair senses is just one form, one way to access intuition. Intuition is this huge umbrella of things. So the book is about like intuition overall. And then where you fall into how you connect with your intuition, if it's the clair senses, if it's tarot cards, if it's, spiritual, any realm that you connect with your
Yeah.
spirituality, if it's when you're burning sage, like whatever it is for you,
Yeah.
it's something that everyone can like connect to through that way.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm glad we're talking about this. So
Yeah.
that does make it very clear. But I have to always also say, if the chakras are providing the
Mhm.
steps for us, this also seems like it would be very doable for a lot of people because that means you're giving us like 8 steps. Like this isn't something that you're gonna be like, oh my God, it's gonna be so overwhelming. How am I gonna do this,
No,
Ebony?
no.
Yeah,
It's a lot. I mean, it's very like I said, it's all about your relationship with you. So it's
right.
very highly self-reflective, and it will require you to really be honest with yourself,
Yeah.
which is why the chakras are in there as like support tools
Hmm.
because it may be confronting for some people,
Ah,
because the way I understand it, your intuition can't serve you unless you're in your truth,
mm, yes.
and the way to intuition, no matter how you're tapping into it, is really through you being in your truth and having a really truthful relationship with yourself.
Yes.
That's how it gets developed. It doesn't get developed by you having to have these certain crystals and, you know, I don't know, be in a certain space and do some magical thing. It
Right.
gets developed by you really developing your relationship with you.
It's like you are the magical thing.
You
Like
are the magical
you
thing.
are the magical thing. But
Yes.
it's also interesting because it's I think if nothing else, you really have highlighted that for us, the importance of this relationship to ourselves.
Yep.
And like thinking about the chakras, I'm thinking like, a lot of people talk about chakra balancing or like
Mhm.
the need for alignment in relation to the movement of energy. But
Mm.
there's also this clarity that comes. I mean, how are you going to have clarity of mind, clarity of body, clarity even of your sensory if
Mhm.
there's congestion and stuckness? So it even seems like, you know, there's this easy relationship between our energy work and our intuitive receptivity, awareness, being more present with our, what do you call them? Our senses.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And in each step, there are also chakra exercises
Oh, okay.
that will help you to tune in more with that chakra so that you can get the bigger message of what that step is all about.
Got you.
Yeah, I was extremely thoughtful,
Yeah.
because I didn't want anything to seem abstract. And I know some people won't even know what chakras are,
Hmm.
like
Right.
my family who's going to be reading the book. They don't know what that is. Some of
Right.
my family members.
Yeah.
So I had like, there's a brief explanation of that in relation to the steps. And then when people do the exercises, they can kind of understand how it all goes together for that step.
Right. So this
Yeah,
is good. So it's like it's multifaceted. So it's
it
not
is.
just you're going to read about intuition, but you're literally giving us direction in practical ways
Mhm.
of nurturing that relationship to ourselves.
Yep.
And I have to say again, like I'm glad we're having this conversation because if we said to someone, "Hey, just go into a deeper relationship with yourself."
Right.
Some
What does
people,
that mean?
what does that mean?
Right.
Yes. Some people would
It's too
just be
broad.
stuck at like, what? And then other people would be like, going to the spa this weekend. So you're giving
Right.
some clear,
Oh,
specific
yeah.
ways of how we can nurture relationship to ourselves and ways that support this bigger picture.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I break it down in the book. I talk about its relation to physical and non-physical, to conscious and subconscious, without it being like too heavy. And then so in addition to the exercises, there are exercises throughout each chapter. And then there's, at the end of each chapter, I correlate it to a chakra. And then there are more chakra exercises. So
Yeah.
there's lots of stuff for people to do, like in their own time and space, in their own world, like real life stuff, so they can prove to themselves. Because that's really what I want the book to do. I want you to prove to you
Oh, I love
how
that.
magnificent you are,
Yes.
you know? And this is the best way that I can show you. So
Yeah.
this is what I'm doing, showing you how amazing you are.
I have to take that down. Because I have to put that in the show description too. That is a beautiful quote. I want you to
Oh,
prove to you how magnificent you are.
yeah.
Oh, I love that, Ebony. Okay, so it's also coming up to ask you as well because you mentioned you are clairtangent
Mhm.
and you receive information when you touch. So just curious, when you do work on a physical body, or even if you do it remotely, however you do it, if you focus in on different chakras, if you touch different chakras, have you noticed that there tends to be a particular type of information within each one, or what have you noticed about them? Any differences?
Definitely. Definitely. And it's been consistent since I've been doing readings since 2012.
Wow.
It has been consistent since 2012. Yes. So I tend to, like, I get a lot of information from the feet, which is why I
Ah,
start my sessions there.
yeah.
I don't know if it's because there's so many nerve endings. The feet are, there's
Yes.
a lot. The feet are very powerful.
Yeah.
And, we're constantly walking on Mother Earth. And so getting all this information from the earth that's like translating to our bodies in all these ways, the feet are everything. And I also
Yes.
I like people's feet too. I think I have a little bit of a foot fetish. I like so so I start with the feet.
Yeah.
Um and I always get like information about the person's how can I say it? Like their foundation, like who they are at their core.
Yeah.
I tend to get that kind of information from the feet. And then with the seven main chakras, because once I leave the feet, where do I go? It depends. I might go to the knees, if I'm guided to. If not, I'll skip the knees and I'll go straight to the root chakra and then I'll
Hmm.
go to the solar plexus. I'll just go all the way up to the top of the head.
Yeah.
The only places I might touch outside of that that are not the seven main, I might go to the rib cages. I tend to pick up information about people's mothers on the left rib cage and information about people's fathers. Is that how it goes?
Yes.
On the right rib cage. Um, and then for the seven, I usually pick up the information that correlates with those seven,
Yeah.
and it's been that way since 2012. That's how my readings go. So I can find out all kinds of things about someone's like sex life and their creativity and their sacral chakra,
Right.
and the heart, I'll pick up love in general. So it will be like the love that they have for themselves as well as like love they have for people in their lives. It could be a lover, it could be a
Mm.
parent, child, pet,
Yeah.
whomever. I can also pick up loved ones, like I picked up boyfriends and like people's solar plexus.
Hmm.
So it's just, it could, yeah. But for the most, so did that answer your question? I kind of went all
Yeah,
over the
yeah. No,
place.
I think it's fascinating because
Okay.
I think that'll even give some of the listeners permission to have more awareness, tune in, be more observant when you're laying hands and see if you have any particular impressions. So, a lot of times in Reiki, people may just focus on the sensation, like the
Hmm.
sensation of energy moving or,
Hmm.
the prickling, the tingling, what we call
Hmm.
habiki. But a lot of people do touch and get information in all kinds of ways. And it's funny you say I actually end with the feet and I
Do
always get
you?
excited. Yes, because I've
Hmm.
literally the way I could describe to you when I put my hands on the feet, it looks like a pinball machine. Like the body just goes like ding ding, like everything starts illuminating from the
Hmm.
feet, like going all
Hmm.
the way up to the crown and it looks like a pinball machine in an arcade. Like that's how it feels to me. And I love the feet for that reason. Cause I'm just like, my
So much
God, it's like
happens in the feet.
wild at the feet. Yes. But it's funny. I'm so glad you mentioned the rib cage too, because that's another thing I talk about in my Shimpenden, my Reiki level 3 class. I would always get messages, imagery on people's rib cages and the back of their shoulder blades.
Mm.
Backs of the shoulder blades, for some reason, I get so much information there.
You are so right about the shoulder blades. So I I get so much from there too. And the reason that didn't come up is because I'll usually do the root because I'll have them lay on their back and I focus on the front,
Yeah.
the front of the body. I'll usually do the root if I'm guided.
Mm,
So sometimes the root I'll do last because I'll ask the person to turn over
yes,
and I'll do their root and then I'll go to their shoulder blades. And the shoulder blades are very active. That is
they
so true.
are.
That is so true.
Yeah. It's funny because I was like, one day I want to like really almost experiment with it, like with several people
Mhm.
and look at is there any, and I know that there are some similarities, but really get like what is it that I'm perceiving in these different body parts because it is not necessarily the same as what I've seen other books say about what we hold where. Because you know, like
Okay.
some will say, I don't
Yeah.
know, whatever you
Yeah.
hold in your foot, something like this. Yeah.
Yep.
But going back to your book, the chakras, I always think they're fascinating because they give us a clear, almost roadmap of our healing, of understanding ourselves, the levels of consciousness,
Mhm.
on and on and on. So, do
Mhm.
you have a practice of working with your chakras as a
Hmm.
way of keeping like your intuition kind of
Oh,
clear or fine tuned?
no. I mean, I do give myself Reiki on the seven main,
Yeah.
pretty consistently as
Yeah.
part of my like getting ready for bed routine.
Oh,
Um, but other than that, no, I don't. I haven't even thought about it in that way before, because for me, I don't want to limit where I'm receiving information,
mm,
because it can come from it can come from your pinky,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like anywhere in your body that you're capable of feeling,
Yeah.
you can get intuitive information. And so because I have that awareness of like using the totality of my body is probably why I don't think about it that way?
Okay, so now I want to kind of pivot back into the book and the name
Yeah.
of your business, this Body Way Intuition. But I have to tell
Mhm.
you, I'm going to have to send it to you when we're done. Someone sent me this video of this little boy. He was
Hmm.
sitting at a restaurant and he's playing a video game or something. And his drink, for whatever reason, was about to fall on the ground. And his reflexes were so quick to catch the drink. And he surprised himself. He was probably like five. Like, this is like a little boy. He
Mhm.
surprised himself with how quickly he caught the the drink that he looked at his other hand and started like playing with it to see like, wow, if this hand did
You
what it
do it.
just did, yeah, what's up with this? I have to send it to you. It's hilarious.
Please.
Yes, yes. But so with this, because it sounds like this like awakening to our body, right? And again, a lot of people will just think, oh, intuition, third eye. But you're saying, no, 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 no. Your full body, your full range of sensory. Could you talk a little bit about like why this is so important for us to understand
Mhm.
in relation to our intuition?
Yes, sure. I mean, the body is just this tool. It's such an amazing tool that we get
Yeah.
to have, and it informs us about so many things from basic things that we learn as a kid, like when something is hot, you don't touch it, you don't go close to it. Like all those things they're all we're still being taught in those same ways,
Yeah.
but in different ways because we're now adults and we've learned so much about the superficial ways that our body teaches us, when we're in
Yes.
pain, when we need to go to the doctor, when something doesn't feel good, when we're tired. But but when it comes to the intuitive ways, there's so many more. And the body is like it has so much space. And it's odd to think about it in this way, but it's expansive.
Mm,
Even though it's housed in this vessel that has, that is not expansive, right? I can't make my finger get longer if I wanted to,
right.
but I can make the energy in my finger. I can tune into the energy in my finger, and I can allow that energy that I feel inside my finger to expand,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So it's really abstract in that way, but just because the body is this expansive tool that we have all this room to explore all these places that we can go, it's really important to let yourself go to new places, to go to new feeling places in particular and see what you can feel when you go there, which is why I'm so excited about doing yoga nidra that I'm gonna post these yoga nidra workshops I'm gonna host because yoga nidra is a great way to tune into different parts of your body that you typically ignore.
Ah, okay. I was going to ask you, do you have like a meditation practice or something like this? But yoga
Mhm.
nidra is incredible. So I do want to ask you that. One, could you tell us what yoga nidra is? But also, it's coming up to ask you in this, do you have a way of
Mhm.
your own self body talk? Is that how you say it? So
My
like
own.
yeah, so like the same way like you may lay your hands on someone and you have the experience
Oh,
of yeah, like communicating with their body.
can I do
Do
it to
you
myself?
yeah, like what do you do for your to talk to your own body?
I can communicate with myself that way.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, I wasn't always able to do that because initially when I started, practicing clairtangent, it was
Yeah.
only with other people. I tried to do it on myself and I think I was too biased, because so much of getting accurate information from your intuition involves releasing all your bias and your prejudice
Mm,
and all those things.
yes.
And because it was myself, I was just overly biased. And so I wasn't able to get anything. But
Yeah.
now that I can create more distance between myself and my intuition, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I can get more information for myself. Absolutely. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
very, very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So, could you tell us about Yoga Nidra and how this could really support us in this work as well?
Oh, I love Yoga Nidra so much. So Yoga Nidra is referred to as conscious sleeping.
Mm.
And it's a yoga practice where you are laying in resting shavasana position the entire time. And you are being guided by a yoga nidra instructor. And so you're being guided to different parts of your body. The awareness of your body, it expands because the instructor is guiding you to bring your full awareness to all these different parts of your body.
Wow.
And it's so deeply, deeply relaxing
Hmm.
because we tend to go to the same places in our bodies over and over and over again. And for that reason, we don't really fully relax because all the places that we're not paying attention to, we are not doing anything to actively engage those places so that they can relax, so that we can receive information, you know? So yoga
Yeah.
nidra is like because it's a relaxation practice.
Yeah.
Um, I
Yeah.
think it's a great way for people to tune into their intuition, especially people who are like only aware of five parts of their body.
Yes. No, I'm laughing because when you said that, it made me, for whatever reason, my mind went to my elbow, to that joint. And I consciously was like, oh, relax. And it just was
Mhm.
like comical to me. Like, what? I never think about this joint in my arm throughout the day.
Hmm.
But what a gift it is to our body, to our system, to
Yes.
give ourselves permission to relax. And
Yes.
so, do you find that that state of relaxation
Mhm.
also really can support people's level of awareness and receptivity? I imagine.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, wholeheartedly, because when we are like stressed out and we've got all these things going on and we're uptight in any way,
Yeah.
mentally, emotionally, physically, any way that we're uptight,
Yes.
we are more restrictive because we are constricting. I was trying to
Yeah.
get those two words together. We are constricting like that part of ourselves, that part of us that is what word did you use? Did you say uptight? No, I said uptight. That part of us that is uptight
Hmm.
is is constricted.
Yeah.
And because it's constricted, it is restrictive,
Got you.
right? We're not
Yes.
able to receive any information when we are constricting any part of us physically or non-physically, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, even thinking of that, I think of how, for say sessions, a lot of practitioners
Mm.
will intentionally prepare themselves
Hmm.
to go into session. And
Mm.
then they'll be in this like altered state, this expansive state. And then they come out of session and they return to their
Yes.
typical function that is
Yeah.
very tight and maybe rigid.
Yeah.
So again, to have this more expanded view and experience of our intuition,
Yeah.
is that something that you practice pretty regularly of like sustaining,
Mm.
your state of openness, whether
Hmm.
you're intending to like
Hmm.
do intuitive work or not? Is it just, part of your everyday life?
I think it's just part of my everyday life. It's
Mhm.
part of how I allow myself to experience life,
Right.
and that's why going back to that example, I think that's how we started this portion of the series, like with the raspberry
Oh,
and
yes.
just letting yourself um, experience more of your five senses more.
Yes.
Anytime you're doing anything to allow more, because there is always more of everything,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And anytime you're allowing yourself to experience more, you're being more expansive. And that expansiveness is assisting you in being expansive in other ways, whether
Yes.
you're conscious of it or not, right? So that's why I really think like focusing on the five senses and allowing yourself to touch, taste, hear, smell, and see more, you
Hmm.
know, just by bringing your present attention, your present awareness to it it's so powerful. That's a great starting place.
Yeah. You saying that, it's making me think of how even sometimes intuitively we
Mhm.
get information of what we need, whether
Yes.
physically, but we'll dismiss it again. Like our
Hmm.
body may be telling us drink water or go outside or whatever
Yes.
it's telling us. And we'll dismiss it because it's not necessarily what
Not
we want.
convenient.
Right. Not convenient,
Not
whatever it
convenient.
is. But the body is telling you all the time
Yes.
exactly what you need.
Yes, and because I think of intuition as a muscle, these are all these ways are ways that you are enlivening that muscle.
Yeah.
These are ways that you are you're working out that muscle. It's there's really because it's so expansive, you can do it in any way that suits you.
Right.
If it's focusing on your five primary senses and just being really present as you're experiencing any one of them, because to focus on all five of them at any one time is probably overwhelming, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like pick one that you want to focus on more and be more present with that sense as your way of expanding and becoming more sensual with how you experience yourself, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
I love this because I'm thinking like, wow, this can bring us into relationship to our wellness. I mean,
In
I
so
don't
many
know.
ways. And you can
Yeah.
get really creative about it too. Like, for example, you can like watch the sunset with your eyes closed.
Oh,
You
whoa.
know? Like you can be really quick because we know what seeing a sunset
Yes.
looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you close your eyes while it's getting darker
Uh,
and recognizing how you are processing that light,
yes.
like that's one way. Like there's
Isn't
so
that
many.
something? Wait, I have to tell you that I'm so glad you just said that, Ebony, because this is something I dismissed. I,
Mhm.
Monday through Friday, I get up at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh,
And yeah, and I go get coffee and I
because
go
you
for
want to?
yes, yes, yes. Because I want to.
My goodness.
Yeah, but I mean, and because of time zones, and I'm in California, so I'm already behind most other time zones.
Mm,
And so sometimes I'll
mm,
have appointments or interviews at say 6 in the morning. And I
mhm,
need time for my brain to wake up before I interact with people. So I
mm.
get up at 4:30. And I like having that window of like I can just be with me before, but I love driving. So that time in the morning, no one's on the road. It's nice. I have a coffee. It's so great. Well, on the weekends, I don't get up that early. And so
Mhm,
I'll still do my routine of like, oh, I'm going to go get my coffee. I'm going to drive before I come home and get ready. Da, da. I don't enjoy it as much. And one time it
mm,
occurred to me because I don't
mhm.
like my first introduction to the day being the sun is already out. I
Wow.
like to be, yes, go outside when it's still dark. And as the light transitions, I'm
Mhm,
okay with that. I
mhm.
like I like going from dark transition into light. I don't like slamming myself into the sun
I
is already
love
up.
that. That's
Yeah.
so interesting. I like knowing that about you.
Yeah, me too. But I dismissed it till you just made me think about it again.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways we can experience, the senses in a different
Right.
way, beyond how we typically think about them or experience them.
Yeah.
And with the clear senses in particular. like that example of watching the sunset with your eyes closed, that will absolutely support someone who's like clairvoyant,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
because your eyes are closed, but you're paying attention to how you're receiving information.
Yeah.
Just this simple information of the lightness becoming dark or
Right.
darkness becoming light, because
Yeah.
you could do it with sunset, sunrise, right?
Yes.
If your setting and your environment that you're in is conducive to that.
Right. But now, because of everything you've been sharing with us, it makes me curious of like what sensory is
Mm,
making me sensitive to that. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
why? Why do I prefer the
Well, you know
dark
what came up for me
moving
when you
into
said
light?
that?
Oh, tell me what.
So, so I've been this way for years. Like I prefer to go outside when it's dark.
Ah,
As much as I like sunlight and I'm like a
yeah.
beach person, I love being on the beach and being in the
Yeah.
sun and getting as brown as I can possibly get.
Yeah.
I also prefer to be outside when it's dark. And
Mm,
I have been like this probably since I was like a teenager, you
yeah.
know? And in the earlier years, I didn't understand like, why do I like going outside when it's dark? And so as I've come to understand myself more intuitively and like with the archetypes that I resonate with, I definitely resonate with the energies of like the dark goddess. And
Ah,
that was one way that that was showing up for me.
yeah. I was
That's
going to
cool.
ask you if you are a night owl, so to speak, because even though I do get up at the crack of dawn, but it's dark. That's why I
Right,
like it.
right.
And I also do like to stay up late. I like the times of day where it seems like everybody else is asleep, basically. I like it when it's quiet. I like it when it's dark. I like it when it feels like I have more of the world to myself, so to speak. You know, it just
I
feels,
love that. I mean, to me,
yeah.
that just sounds like your proclivity to like unknown to the other.
Yes.
To me, that's all the darkness is.
Yes.
Dark to me is unknown and light is information.
Yeah.
Doesn't get much more deep than that, you know?
Yes, and honey, let me tell you, I am. I'm like, unknown, show me the way. Let's
Yeah, and
go.
it's also indicative of your relationship with subconsciousness too, because dark is unknown, is subconscious,
Yeah.
and light is known, is consciousness, you know?
Yes.
So the fact that you thrive there tells me that
Mhm.
like you're someone who is really into what is unknown and subconscious.
Look at this. You are really now. I'm so fascinated about these three conversations with you, mainly because, again, I really think it's going to crack open people's idea
Yeah. Of
around
intuition.
intuition.
I hope
Yeah.
so. I really hope
And
so.
I love that so much emphasis of your work focuses on our relationship to ourself rather than relationship to the thing. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
not just I'm so attached to being intuitive, but open that up, loosen your grip, and be
Yes.
in love with you
Be in love with
and
you.
then see what
Yes.
happens.
Yes, because we're just so much more than we know. We're
Right.
so much more than we know. And my healing journey made me look at myself at such levels of depth
Yeah.
that it led me to understanding all this about who I am. And so I know it's true for who everyone else is too, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, I have to ask you this one thing too.
Yeah.
Sometimes I worry that people probably, you say something and I don't address it right away. I feel like the
Okay.
listeners are like, oh my God, why didn't you ask her? I come back around. You, you did mention at the start of this conversation something about the ways that we can use intuition in our everyday life
Yeah.
so that it, just bring it down to more practicality that we may
Yeah.
not recognize. What are
Hmm.
some ways that you
Hmm.
really use your intuition in what you would consider more practical day to day ways?
Oh, good. You know, I realized a long time ago that because I'm so highly intuitive, it is happening all the time.
Hmm.
Like even when I don't credit my intuition with it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's happening that much for me. Um, so it's hard for me to I say that to say that it's hard for me to identify
yeah,
because it's just happening so much.
all the
So
time.
let me think about this. So when am I using my intuition in my day-to-day life? I mean, I don't so I work for myself, right? And
Yeah,
so that gives me a luxury of not having a schedule.
yeah,
Not I design my own schedule, I should
yes,
say, right? And so for so many people, time is a big deal about like when they have to drop off kids, do these things to get to work, whatever, right?
Yeah.
I don't have that. And so for me, it's very different because I'm just always being present
Yes.
and I'm always allowing myself the next thing that I'm doing, I'm always doing it based on like how I'm feeling in the present moment, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that answer your question? Because
No,
that's really how it
100%.
shows up for me. Like I mean, it's a luxury I have that I recognize that I can be present.
Yeah.
And so when I am present, I
But it
just
sounds
follow
like you
that.
listen to yourself.
I do, and I'm
Yeah.
obedient to myself. And
Right.
this being present thing was really integral in my healing journey because I think it's the second video I talked a little bit about my trauma and um at that time I also worked for myself. I've been working for
Mm.
myself since 2009. It's been a long
Wow.
time. And I definitely recognize that my ability to not be on a schedule, like if I had to get up and go to work
Hmm.
when I was depressed,
Yeah.
I would not have been, my healing journey would have been very different.
Right.
But because I didn't have a job that I had to go to at a certain time, I was able to be at home and be depressed
Right. Yeah.
and let myself work through all the things that I had to confront myself with that were so hurtful so that I could, that helped me learn how to be really present with myself. But at that time, because it was depression, it was a different experience of being
Yeah.
present versus not being depressed and being present now. Does
No, it
that give
makes
more insight?
100% it does.
Okay.
Yeah. And I love it because it's funny this year I finally clicked into because I'm very if I say I'm going to do something, I say I'm going to complete something, it'll drive me nuts until I do it. So
Hmm.
typically, I would stay up late at night to get something done to meet a deadline, whether it's my own or someone else's, whatever. I just am very, I don't like things left undone.
Yeah.
And this year, for whatever reason, that has completely like fallen off my butt. When I tell
Yeah.
you right now, I can't tell you how many things are due right now. But it's because I'm listening to myself. I'm not
Yeah.
forcing myself. I don't know what is happening, Ebony, but there's this thing where
Oh,
I'm really paying attention to me and I'm like, I'm not going to
I
force me.
love it. I love
I
that.
can't do it. Yeah.
And there's so much power in that. And
Mhm.
so what I can offer for your listeners, because I know most people, are not like me when I've been working for themselves for as long as I
Yeah.
have. But what I can offer, and this is something I was saying before, and I don't know if we said this on the 2023 podcast, but that's why it's so important to create time to be by yourself
Yes. Wow.
and to not have anything to do, not have anywhere to go, because there's so much that we become aware of when we can just be and
Yeah.
not do. And so, I love hearing that you're in this place where that's where you are, because when you are ready to do the things that you're choosing
Yes.
not to do now, you're going to do them so much better. You're
Right.
going to have so much more, thoughtfulness and depth and consideration, and you're going to do them so much more better because you're now ready to do it, as
Yeah.
opposed to doing it when you're being forced or when you have to, quote unquote, have to
Have
do it,
to.
you know?
Yes. Yeah, and it does. It makes all the difference in the world, but it's an adjustment because it's literally just
Mhm.
been this year that I've
I love that. And we're
started
only
this.
in last day of
Yeah.
February.
Yeah, exactly. Like right. We're just going into the end of the first quarter. And I'm like, wow, I really have been
I love that
like
for you.
saying no and yes in a different way that I would have never done before. But I'll
Keep it
let you know
up.
how it
Keep it
goes.
up.
Yeah.
Yes, keep it
So
up.
I do want to let everyone know, again, the book, the pre-order is available now.
Oh,
And the link is down in the show description. Yeah. I'm like,
yes.
congratulations. Like, this
Thank
is your
you.
baby shower.
I
Yes.
know.
So,
Thank you so much for this. And I'm going to put
of
it on my
course.
website too, because I just got that link, the pre-order link this week. I just got it
Oh,
this week. So I'm going
perfect.
to put it on my website soon also.
Perfect. Well, I just want people to know the name of the book is Your Intuitive Nudge, a
Yes.
step-by-step guide to connecting with your intuition. Again, the link for the pre-order is down in the show description, but your website to learn how to work with you in the entirety of your work, is bodywayintuition.com. That's also your handle on Instagram at bodywayintuition. But I want to ask you about these workshops because, a lot of us like to have the experience of everything we've been talking about. What is it that you plan on offering this year?
Oh, goodness. So, right now on the website, there are, of course, the readings.
Hmm.
There are intuition, there's an intuition coaching, and I actually added a new service this year that I was inspired to add by a client, and it's an intuitive healing mentorship. Because intuitive healing has been such a prominent thing in my own life, it just made sense that I offer it. And this particular client like brought that idea to my attention. So
Yeah.
that's a new service this year. Those are paid services. And in addition to those services, I'm going to, because those are individualized. Those are just one-on-one things you do with me.
Yeah.
But because I really want the intuitive healing mentorship and the intuition coaching to be more accessible financially for folks,
Right.
I'm going to, I'm working on it now, a series for that to be done as a group offering, you know? It'll always be available for people who want it one-on-one, but as a group offering, it's just more accessible,
Yeah.
and for free offerings, I'm gonna start doing as early as March. So, probably the second half of March, I'm gonna start doing monthly intuition workshops again. I was doing intuition workshops last year before, just playing with the idea, just to see. And it was tricky because there's a global audience, and so like figuring out a date and time was so much work,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I want as many people to come, but I'll probably record them, but we'll see how it goes. But
Good luck with the time.
I know the time thing
That
is
is, it is
difficult.
really hard. Yeah. So is this
And
something, is it only live or
I'm not sure. In the past, it was only live. I'm
yeah,
thinking about recording them, although because I know that the group intuition coaching and intuitive healing mentorship will be a recorded thing,
yeah,
I may keep this live,
yes.
But it's definitely happening. Either
You're
way,
right.
it's definitely happening. And then I'm going to do some yoga nidra too, because
Yeah.
yoga nidra is just a great way for people to get into their body and to go to more feeling places. And because I'll be guiding them, I mean, I'm going to be guiding, people all over the place. So,
Yes.
I'm going to do some free yoga nidra workshops also via Zoom. What else am I going to do? I have a Substack publication called Licking Life's Fingers.
Oh, ooh, that is a good name. Wait
Thank
a
you.
minute.
That's what I feel like I'm doing.
Yes.
I don't lick my actual fingers, but I definitely lick life's fingers. And I haven't been writing on there as much. I know, and that's free, but it is private. So you have to share your email address and then you'll be notified via email. So
Okay.
those are all the things that I have going on. And then, of course, the book. And because the book is coming out, I really want to do as much like press around the book as I can. So
Yeah.
I'm in New York City. I'm trying to spread myself around at all these different like institutions for talks and stuff.
I can't even imagine. Even when you said earlier, I think it was in the first episode you mentioned New York. Specifically, though, you were talking about the woman that you had met, the person that attuned you to Reiki, and how she would
Mhm.
have these gatherings at her home. It made me
Yeah.
think about there's a channel that I really enjoy, and he
Hmm.
started out giving. He lived in New York at the time, and he started out having gatherings at his place where people would come, and I was like, "What is it
Yeah.
with you New Yorkers and having all these gatherings?" I think this sounds amazing, though. Like
It's true, New York. I mean, there's so much culture
yeah,
here.
yeah.
So there's all these cultural institutions that have all these talks and all these things happening. And then there's all the stuff behind the scenes that people are just doing at their house.
Yes. No, but it sounds incredible. So yeah, I'm glad that you get to promote that way in like such a cool city, but that we have this medium now of podcasting and ways to
Yeah.
connect online. And so for the workshops that are going to come up,
Yeah.
should we put is there a link to that
Oh,
or
oh, thank you for asking. Not yet. It's going to be on, I don't think those are going to be on my website. I think I'm definitely going to promote those on
social?
my social media. Yeah. So
Perfect.
my Instagram and my TikTok. And maybe I'll mention them. In the past, what I did was I did recaps on my Substack because the people that attended had so many wonderful things to talk about. So I would like recap it there. So I'll
Okay.
probably still do that. So I'll announce it on my socials, and then usually people will send an email, and then I'll send them like the Zoom link, when it's time.
Perfect. Okay. So make sure you also follow Ebony at Bodyway Intuition on Instagram. Again, I'll link all of this down in the show description.
Thank
It has been incredible spending three
I
hours with you. It went
know.
so fast.
I cannot. It is
I know.
3:40.
I know. Keep
A lot. I mean, I hope your audience likes it. I'm so
Yes.
happy to hear that they liked the first conversation
Yes.
we had, and this is delving so much deeper, and the book is even more than that. So I'm
Yeah.
so,
Well, listen, I'm so thankful that now you have a book that we can all, read, connect
I
with.
know.
Yeah, because they really did enjoy
Oh
the
my
first
God.
episode a couple of years ago. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
makes me so happy to hear. Like that makes my whole day. Thank you so much for sharing
Yeah.
that.
And I just want to say too, I've been telling people because they'll email me about the interviews, which
Mhm.
I do appreciate. But I'm like, listen, if you enjoyed what people share on here and that they take the time to sit and have these conversations with us, please email them. Let them know.
Oh, I
So
would
reach
love to
out
hear
to
from them.
Ebony. Yes. Any
Yes.
questions you have for her, anything you enjoyed about these 3 hours we've had with Ebony, please reach out to her. And
Yeah.
again, her website is bodywayintuition.com. I thank you so, so much, my love. And
Thank
for everyone
you.
else, we will see you very soon.
Yeah.
All right, beautiful alchemist, that wraps up our time with the beautiful Ebony Banks of Body Way Intuition. I hope that you enjoyed this series on intuition this week, and hopefully, it has inspired you or got you thinking about your own intuitive recognition. If you want to work with Ebony, don't forget you can go to her website, bodywayintuition.com. You can also follow Ebony on Instagram at bodywayintuition so that you can attend her free upcoming monthly workshops where she will be sharing all about intuition and yoga nidra. And don't forget about her upcoming book. If you want to pre order the book, use the link down in the show description. The book is called Your Intuitive Nudge, a step by step guide to connecting with your intuition, and it will be available by the end of this year. So much juiciness. Thank you again, Ebony, for coming, taking the time to share with us here on Reiki Radio. For all of you listening, don't forget we have more teachers coming to share. And if you're just catching up on these series, don't forget, reach out to everyone who you are listening to. If you enjoy or appreciate what they're sharing, let them know so that they know that the time that they take to spend with us really does add value and support us and supports the community. Speaking of which, if you don't mind taking the time, if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, follow the show, share the show, give us a 5-star review to help more practitioners find us. If you're watching on YouTube, share the videos, subscribe to the channel. You can leave comments underneath the interviews. I appreciate all of it because it really does help us grow and it helps more teachers and authors and practitioners have a willingness to come and share with us. So I appreciate your contributions and I'm so thankful that you're here. Don't forget, if you want to join me as well next month for the Ultimate Healing Guide, be sure to register right away so that you can get that discount. Use coupon code EARLYBIRD as one word, EARLYBIRD, for $50 off of the Ultimate Healing Guide. That coupon expires March 15th, so register as soon as you can. I thank you so, so much for being here. I hope you're enjoying the series, and remember to always journey in love.